Today's video is all about overthinking and how overthinking influences your negative entity attachments. This video also describes ways to overcome overthinking so that you can overcome negative entity attachments. Look at him. Do you think he's overthinking? No. Let's talk more about all of that in this video. So where does overthinking come from? It is definitely a survival mechanism. And when we get into the survival mechanisms, we also understand something very important. That being in the survival mindset lowers your vibrational frequency. Well, when you lower your vibrational frequency, you're more likely to have torturous negative entity attachments, negative energies, and other unwanted things, including lower vibrational emotions like anger and frustration and fear and impatience and so on. So it's really important to understand that first, don't beat yourself up for overthinking. It's kind of funny because beating yourself up for overthinking is overthinking about overthinking. That's the last thing that you want to do. So the first thing is to take a breath and go, hey, it's natural to overthink. Other than these big brains, it's hard for humans to survive. We don't have tough hides or sharp claws, or we can't run fast or climb trees or swim fast or any of those things. All we've got are these brains. So we use the heck out of them. And we need to in order to survive most situations. Because we can't outrun or outfight anything. We have to outthink them. And what we know, of course, is look at our society. Look at all that we've developed. Look how much we understand about this world. From that standpoint, we have actually created a society that doesn't really have to rely on overthinking to survive. We have a lot of the things figured out, at least the basic survival things. So you're carrying with you this natural response to your environment, and unfortunately, that natural response causes issues. Why is overthinking a problem? It's because we generally focus on what's wrong. In order to solve problems, in order to survive, we have to evaluate and determine what's going wrong or what could kill us. And then that process includes, okay, this is the problem and I'm going to focus on the problem and I'm going to think about it. I'm going to try to solve it. I'm going to think of this way and that way and this way and that way. And it becomes subconscious. We're walking around doing other things and at the same time, we're trying to solve problems. Well, when you're in that mindset, when you're focused on what's wrong, then you generally go into lower vibrational emotions. You go into fear because, oh my gosh, I've got to solve this problem or I'm going to die. You go into frustration. Darn it, why haven't I figured out how to solve this problem yet? You go into impatience. It's about time for me to solve this problem, isn't it? And so on. So getting out of this problem-solving, overthinking mindset is hugely important. Also, most of the time when we're dealing with negative entity attachments or negative energies or spiritual problems, overthinking isn't going to help that. These brains are really tuned in to solving 3D problems, not spiritual problems. There's not a lot of logic that we can use to try to figure things out. It is very different. And so we have to separate ourselves from problem solving and overthinking in order to get into a smooth place in a spiritual mindset. Why is defeating overthinking so important when it comes to negative entity attachments? Well, I just described it. You are at lower vibrational places. You are at survival mindset or lower vibrational emotions, which is the perfect place for negative entities to attach to. So it's critically important that you move out of overthinking in a negative way and try to shift overthinking at least into a positive way or stop overthinking altogether. Sounds easy, right? Okay, just go ahead and stop overthinking and you'll be fine. I'll wait here while you do that. Oh, are you still overthinking? Well, of course you are, because you don't necessarily have control over your brain. That's more of an advanced technique. So in the meantime, there are techniques and practices that you can do to make this go a lot smoother. Well, one of them is surrendering. Releasing and relaxing the best that you can. Another way to look at this is overthinking is trying to control. What does control mean? Control always means that you're trying to counteract fear. Fear is a prediction of the future. You cannot be afraid of something that's already happened. You can only be afraid of something that hasn't happened yet. Well, that's a pretty dicey experience. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen. So what do you have to do? You have to predict everything that could possibly happen. You've got to predict everything that's going to go wrong so that you can circumnavigate it. Well, talk about being in a lower vibrational place. All you're thinking about is miserable stuff. So the opposite of this is to surrender and to understand that, hey, everything happens for us, not to us. And we can adjust and adapt to any situation that we come across. We really can. We're incredible at that. That's one of our best characteristics. So surrendering to whatever it is that you're stressed out about and say, hey, I'll solve this when I get there. I'm not going to try to solve it right now. Another great technique is to actually just ground. You can do this by going outside barefoot and touching the earth with your feet. You can even do it in your basement if you have one, or the cement on a slab if you're living on one and you have access to that. You can also do it by swimming. And there's yet another way to do it, and that's by just focusing your energy and your energy field and stretching it all the way down into the ground through the floor. Just imagining this during a meditative state, and notice usually a sensation on the bottoms of your feet as you exchange ions with the earth. Another great one here is to do lifestyle changes. And I know you go, oh no, lifestyle changes. I don't really like to do that because it's challenging. And one of the things that I do when I eat bad food, or I don't exercise and just watch TV or whatever, is, well, I distract myself essentially from overthinking. And so it's not a solution, it's just a temporary distraction. So then you get into eating foods that aren't very good for you, fast foods and processed foods, or you sit around and try to distract yourself with your TV or your phone or whatever to try to keep yourself from thinking and overthinking and overthinking. Well, exercising, for instance, is amazing because you actually challenge yourself in a physical way, which challenges the mind as well. So the mind is always trying to solve problems when we're overthinking. Well, if we are actually exercising instead, the mind is occupied with something much better. It is occupied with, how do I keep going? How can I make it through this? I'm sure I can do this. These sorts of thoughts come up instead of, oh no, what do I do now? I'm predicting the future and terrible things are going to happen and so forth. Putting your body in a healthier state through eating better and through exercise makes all of this so much easier. A fantastic practice is gratitude. I recommend this and some of my other videos as well. Take time each day to recognize the things that you're grateful for. They can be physical things, that's an easy one, the house that you live in, the vehicle that you drive, or whatever. But you can also be grateful for aspects of yourself. I'm grateful that I'm this, I'm grateful that I'm good at this other thing. You can be grateful for nature. You can be grateful for family. You can be grateful for the people in your life. There's so many things to be grateful for. This focus, instead of focusing on what's wrong, focuses on what's right. And that makes a huge difference, because what does that create? It creates an opportunity for higher vibrational emotions, because that's what gratitude actually is. It's a high vibrational emotion. And if you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm grateful for my phone, and you go, I don't really feel grateful for it, but I say that I'm grateful for it, that's okay, because the brain is actually creating positive thoughts. And when that happens, the emotional body will eventually catch up. The emotional body will say, hey, how should I feel? And if your brain is going, I've got to try to solve this problem, I got to try to solve this problem, this is all wrong, this is not going well, then the brain essentially says, oh, well, you should feel crappy. Here's a bad emotion. Try this one. And so it does. But if you're thinking gratitude, or if you're thinking love, or you're thinking excitement, any of those higher vibrational emotions, even if you're not feeling them, if you're thinking about them, then your body says, hey, brain, how should I feel? and the brain says, well, I'm thinking about what I'm grateful for right now, then it could go, okay, gratitude, that's a good emotion, and tune in to that frequency. The frequency of gratitude feels really good sensationally across your body, but it also, obviously, raises your vibrational frequency. So any practice where you can raise your vibrational frequency will make a big difference, even on overthinking. The Buddhists say that attachment is the cause of all suffering. And so this is another angle that you can take. That most of the time when you're overthinking, you're very attached to a particular result. I'm trying to solve this problem. The solution of that problem is what I'm attached to because I do not want this anymore. This also comes in the form of being attached to people, being attached to physical objects. There's so many things that we can become attached to. Well, it's the opposite of gratitude. We instead of just saying, hey, I'm grateful for this thing and I'm grateful for anything that happens to me in this life, we say, yeah, I'm grateful for that, whatever. I just don't want to lose it. And that's the problem. You can relax this and appreciate things in the now. Because once again, overthinking is almost always about overthinking about the future, what hasn't even happened yet. And you're predicting the worst possible result. Living in the now, living in the moment, will eliminate you trying to solve the problem at some point in the future and appreciate exactly what you have. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. I have so many videos about overcoming negative entity attachments and so many other practices that you can do to improve your life from a spiritual, mental, and emotional place. I hope you'll check those out. Thank you again. I love you unconditionally, and I'll see you in the next video.